Bases drop for another round of soccer down here. It is Tuesday, which means it's Tuesday Thoughts. And over the span of today's show, we'll talk about what happened this past weekend in Major League Soccer and get everybody caught up on how things are when it comes to standings, playoff picture, all that kind of stuff. We can give you a bit of an update on the Taxi Funtas situation with DC. He came out with a statement yesterday. We'll get into that. And a hiring at Brighton. We'll get into that as well. So we'll see if Brighton becomes deserbified when it comes to their next manager, and go into a bit of his background as well. And you might remember him from his time at Shakhtar, Roberto De Zerbi. And he was the guy who was in charge of Shakhtar when the war broke out. And we have our pre-production chat then before everything comes up in the morning. And I said that, Brighton got De Zerbi, fantastic gentleman, for everything that he did to protect his players, to make sure that they were as safe as possible when war broke out in Ukraine. Brighton's got a fantastic coach, a fantastic guy. So we'll see what happens with De Zerbi, and we'll get into that as well. Big deep dive into De Zerbi in The Athletic, and get into that as well. And anything else on your mind, that's what Tuesday Thoughts are for. So anything across the board. And I think probably for the international window, it's pretty much just going to be about as free-flowing as it gets. Later today, it'll be our standard Tuesday shows that get released. USL Championship, USL League One, Prem and Proper, those will be released today. Later in the afternoon, I get to catch up with Philip Goodrum over at Memphis 901 FC, and that'll be out as a 1v1 tomorrow. So we'll catch up with Philip, who's one of the most prolific goal scorers in USL Championship this year. It's him and Milan Olaski. Olaski, I think, has 20 over at Orange County, and Philip Goodrum's got 19. And the 17s got to see him return a couple weeks ago when Memphis 901 hit town. So we'll catch up with Philip Goodrum as well and have that for you on tomorrow. So time for the opening kickoff. Once again, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. Here's your QR code right there. See, proof that there's a QR code. There's proof right there. Go full. There's your QR code. Proven. And Kickoff Coffee CO on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Reminder, and thanks to everybody who has picked up their versions of Kickoff Coffee, whichever brand, whichever variant you like. The boss likes the darker blends, and she's been a fan of those. So use the code SoccerDownHere15 with our friends at Kickoff Coffee and Kickoff Coffee CO, and you get 15% off. And they, in turn, take 10% rolled over into youth initiatives, and that's very, very cool that they are doing. So once again, our friends at Kickoff Coffee and KickoffCoffeeCO.com. So, Jarrett, what I wanted to get into for the opening kickoff was talk about Atlanta United 2 a little bit. And with the promise that we get to see, and, we get to sit there and, the three of us, you, Jason, and myself, we get to go up to the fraction. We get to see everyone develop. We get to see those first stages before they work their way either up to the first team or like a Philip Goodrum, you get to go to other places, or you get to go to college. You get to go to that next stage in your professional career. And I thought it would be really cool for the opening kickoff this morning to talk about 3 call-ups for the twos for September, where you have Johnny Fortune, Vicente Reyes, and Johnny Vial, all 3 Atlanta United Academy products. They are going to be spending time on national team duty this month. Johnny Fortune, remember, and the thing is that, and I guess we can take this one at a time. Johnny Fortune is 19 years old. 19. I think I forget that a Johnny Fortune's 19 years old because he's been with the twos as long as he has. And he's been a part of the academy as long as he has. 19 years old, call up to the Trinidad and Tobago senior national team. He's got 2 caps already. They play in the 2022 Kings Cup in Thailand from September 22nd to 25, joining the host nation as well as Malaysia and Tajikistan. 19 starts, 23 matches, and he was given the captaincy after Robbie Mertz went back to Pittsburgh to play for the Riverhounds. When I mention a Johnny Fortune to you, what comes to mind?
Probably growth and just the maturity he's shown. He's already been on that path, but when you gave him the armband, you asked him to grow up more. And I think there have been some moments where he's done really well with it, some moments he struggled with it, but that was going to happen when you gave the armband to a 19-year-old. But he has a leadership role in that team, and he's had to really grow into it even more. He's done a good job of it. And even, you talk to him after games, he has that thing about him that he takes it all very seriously about how the team does and not just himself, and he considers it his responsibility to make sure everything is clicking for that team. And he carries that and is hard on himself at times about making sure that everybody is where they need to be and doing what they need to do. And for him, I'm happy to see him do that, to get that opportunity for the not just, because we talk about how many of these guys go play with youth national teams.
Mm-hmm.
I got called up to the senior national team. That's awesome to see. And hopefully he'll be able to continue to make an impact. I think the thing for me is, and we've talked about this, go back to the AmFam Cup. That was one of the best performances we saw him put on for this organization. Yeah. I want to see how he's able to build off of that throughout the rest of this season, and then, homegrown deal next year. I want to see what his growth looks like.
Next one on the board is Vicente Reyes, and Reyes is 18, called up by the Chilean U20s for the second time this year, and they're going to be competing in the Costa Calida Super Cup late this month, September 21 through 27 in Murcia, Spain. Chile will face England, Australia, and Morocco in the tourney. Reyes 14 times for the twos. Justin, along with Justin Garces this season, 72 saves, seventh most in the league in his 14 games, called up to a camp with the Chile senior national team early this year. So, looking at the schedule, Atlanta United 2 plays Indy 11 in the home finale on the 28th. Do you think that there's a transmogrifier that will help out getting Reyes back from Murcia, Spain with that last day on the 27th?
I don't know that you'll get that. However it ends, this season ends, for Vicente Reyes. I mean, his growth has been awesome to see. I remember there early in the season, there were a couple of games where he made mistakes where I thought, he's going to have to grow from this.
Yep.
He's going to have to put that behind him, and he did. And he's, especially late in the season, as he's gotten more time, he has really done well. And he's another one that you got to remember. You got to remember how young he is.
Mm-hmm.
That, especially with goalkeepers, because of the way they age much more slowly than standard outfield player.
Right.
He's done really well with it, and I think he's handled it all in stride and take the good and the bad with it. You're in a firing range with that team. Atlanta United 2 leads the league in goals surrendered, and it's not really close. Some of that has to do with play style, because they're going to try and play on the front foot and be aggressive and leave their center backs exposed a lot and leave their defense exposed a lot. And then even when they do step, even when they actually are set, they're going to step and be aggressive and try and force the issue, even in the metaphorical half court.
Yeah.
But he's put on really good improvements throughout the year, and excited to see him get this opportunity, and hopefully it's something he can continue to grow with.
Johnny Vial is the third one that I wanted to talk about. Called up to the Mexico U18 national team for the second time in 2 months. Johnny Vial, 17, training with the group in Mexico that will later travel to the Czech Republic for friendlies against Finland on the 21st, Slovakia on the 23rd, Germany on the 25th. 20 appearances for Johnny Vial, starting in 5, 3 assists. And I know a lot of us remember the Luke Brennan, Johnny Vial, Jackson Conway effort against FC Tulsa that got the late game winner there for the twos. And you look at Johnny Vial, and he does some things when he has the ball at his feet that you're just sitting there and you're trying, and I admit this, you're trying to call a match, and you see Johnny Vial do something, with the ball at his feet, and you kind of just have to sit there and keep trying to call it without sitting there and going, whoa, at the same time. It's an interesting challenge when someone's as talented as Johnny Bial.
Oh, he fits into this mold that you're developing through these midfielders a lot of times, and that he's just absurdly technical and absurdly creative. The thing with Johnny, if you watch him play, is he is so quick with his feet when he's on and when he's feeling confident. He'll make that turn, he'll make that dribble so quickly, and it's such a confident movement. And the big thing I think for him is I want to see him get stronger, and some of that's just going to come with age. He's 17. He doesn't look 17. He looks like he's about 15.
I know.
Johnny's not a big guy, but I want to see him get stronger and get faster. And some of that also is not just a matter of flat, like straight line speed faster, but operating in the game faster. And that's just going to come with experience facing guys at a higher level. It's why. Despite the disappointing season, it's why you like these opportunities for Atlanta United too, because it gives them the opportunity to play against adults and get an idea of that speed that they're going to be facing, and they have to adjust. And he's had moments where he's adjusted. But Johnny's been an insanely interesting prospect all year, and he has shown a lot of promise. I'm really excited to see what he looks like. In a year or two, and very interested to see how he's one of those that I'm really interested to see. How does he look when you go to MLS Next Pro?
Yes.
Because it's going to be a different level. For whatever you think, for whatever reason, you agree with them going to that or wish they'd stay in USL, or you're good with it and you wanted them out of USL. Guys like him that have had that experience now playing adults, I'm very interested to see how they handle MLS Next Pro competition, because there are going to be some professionals in there. It's going to be other guys coming from academies. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be, don't get me wrong, it's not going to be a walk in the park for Atlanta United too. I don't mean to imply that, because there are very good academies all over this country, very good teams all over this country at all levels. But after getting their teeth cut against adults for a while, I'm very interested.
Yeah, dudes twice their age. Absolutely.
Yeah, I want to see how they do. Johnny would be an interesting one to watch, and as he gets more confident and the game slows down for him, I think he could be very problematic for a lot of teams to have to deal with.
I forgot to ask, what did you think about the point that was rescued against the Miami FC on the weekend, having to come back twice and coming out with a 2-2 draw?
I mean, it shows guts. And that's been the thing is, for me with this team, whenever they've had something go wrong, whenever they've had a really bad performance, they've had a couple, to where, Jack Collison was genuinely, like, he'll deal with the losses, but where he was genuinely upset with the performances, they've generally answered the bell.
Yeah.
And they've shown they've got guts. Look, you went down to Miami and you showed you have guts. I was very impressed with that, because it's a tough atmosphere. It's tough. It's a tough place to go play. And it's a tough place to have to. It's tough for any team, professional or otherwise, to go rescue points on the road, and they did that. And full credit to them for that performance.
No doubt about it. And so we'll keep an eye on Atlanta United too. Great to see that. Remember, Caleb Wiley got a call up to the youth national team as well. And remember, home finale for Atlanta United 2 is the 28th. So it's next Wednesday. It's the home finale. They finish up with 2 matches on the road out west against Western Conference competition. So I would ask, and I will continue to ask between now and game day, if you can make it up to the fraction for the home finale this year, go ahead. I mean, I would love to see you. And I think that for everything that the guys have, faced this season, make your way up to the fraction next Wednesday night. Indy 11 in town, and it'll be interesting to see how they go up against a team, once again, who's probably got guys who are 1.5 times their age, a lot of veterans on that roster. And, so we'll see how they respond one more time at home. But if you can make it out there, please go to the fraction and support the guys because of everything that they've done this year as they exit USL Championship after this season, head to MLS Next Pro.
They matriculate.
Yes, they are matriculating down the field and heading over to MLS Next Pro. And and to your point, it's going to be interesting. I want to see how the integration is because, you look at Seattle, you look at Dallas, you look at what Charlotte has been doing with their young talent in the cups. Like if you watch the cups in Dallas and things like that, there are teams that have, and Philadelphia is another one. You look at these squads that have this development, and they're going to be a part of MLS Next Pro. And it's, as you said, it's not going to be a walk in the park. There are going to be teams where you will look at the level of investment and see that there hasn't been any. See Loons, Minnesota. And then you're going to see the ones that have invested, like Dallas, like Atlanta, like Seattle, like
Philly. Columbus, actually. I believe Columbus is the number 1 seed in the playoffs. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and I think Marco Micheletto is actually playing for Crew too, if memory serves. For those of you that remember your time with Tormenta. But no, it will be interesting to see how everything integrates in MLS Next Pro. But if you can make it for the USL Championship home finale against Indy 11 next Wednesday, please do. We would love to see you, and I'm sure the guys would too. So that is your opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com. And you can find them on social media, on the Twitters, on the Facebook, and on the Instagram. Once again, you can look at them all there, Kickoff Coffee CO. Use the code SoccerDownHere15, get 15% off of your purchase. They, in turn, will take 10% and roll it over into, yes, Emilio, definitely matriculating down the field. Definitely a Hank Stram reference. I'm right there with you. See, I remember that when Hank Stram had that really bad rug, and there's 32 XGO involving Mike Garrett, I believe. It was good enough for a touchdown in the Roman numeral classic. But once again, 10% youth initiatives after you use the code SoccerDownHere15. And even if you don't use the code SoccerDownHere15, good stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. All right, so yesterday we went through as methodically as possible the DC United situation involving Taxi Funtas and Inter Miami. And so yesterday, DC United released a statement, and or Taxi Funtas released a statement involving the incident in and of itself. And I want to find it so it is read verbatim with the incident that happened with Damian Lowe. And Funtas, obviously, he vehemently denies any kind of using of that language. He denies using the slur. And, the beautiful part of trying to try and find what you're looking for when you're looking for it is it doesn't pop up when you're trying to find it. So this is the good part about having the interwebs in front of you and trying to do a very quick search and try to find what Taxi Funtas said. So we'll go to, let's see. So there's the word.
You want me to get it for you?
Yeah, if you can find it first. Here we go. I did not. Okay, I think I found it. It's on an Instagram post. And so Taxi says on his Instagram, I did not use the word I'm being accused of using. That despicable racial slur is one I denounce and did not use. We had a hot discussion on the field, but I have not racially abused anyone. I firmly reject racism in any form. It is despicable. I have many friends from many cultures. I always respect the culture, religion, and skin color of each person. I am, therefore, very upset by this accusation and saddened to be falsely accused. So that is Taxi's full statement released to his Instagram account as of yesterday when it was posted. And then that's pretty much been the only real advancement of the story. DC came out with a statement. DC United are aware of the allegations involving a player during the match against Inter Miami CF. The club will work closely with Major League Soccer and Inter Miami to investigate the incident. MLS came out with their statement. And so, frankly, that's where we are. And that was the only advancement of the story yesterday. We don't know about any kind of timetable, nor should we, when it comes to this particular investigation. And right now, you are hoping that when you look at this situation, you hope that all parties take their time. I know that in this particular day and age, We want things now. We want our answers now. We want our food now. We want our groceries now. We want things delivered to the house now. Something like this is not a now. Something like this has to be looked at from every possible angle. You have to look at it from every possible perspective. Where can you get information? Where can you glean information? Who wishes to talk? In addition to what has already been said, DeAndre Yedlin came out post-match and had his comments. This needs to be done methodically, not for the sense of the now, and MLS has to come up with an answer that befits the evidence, Jarrett, that they find in this process.
Yeah, and look, I mean, there's a pretty solid chance that nothing comes out of this. You had this happen earlier this season. I believe it was Seattle and Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Somebody in Minnesota. There's a solid chance that they do this investigation, and they're not able to confirm anything. And we talked about it yesterday. It's a really slippery slope to levy out punishments based on he said, she said. Mm-hmm. It can get really slippery really fast.
Yep.
If it did happen and there's no punishment, that absolutely sucks.
Yes. That is disappointing.
And it's exhausting. And I'm sure nobody likes having to go through this whole process. Nobody from the league is going to want to do it because it's a sore spot for them. Because look, this is going to make news around the world. Because we see it when, we saw it in Spain. I think over the weekend. I think it was Vinicius was. Yes. Vinicius was racially abused in Spain.
Yeah, because I think it was a sporting director who basically did not like his goal celebrations, and the words in quotation marks were basically that Vinicius Jr. should stop, quote, monkeying around, end quote. And the fans inside the building before the match decided to carry it one step further.
Yeah, and so I mean, but that kind of stuff does make news, and it's not great looks for the league anywhere. And so now you have it where you're going to make news all over the place in the United States and around the world because of this. So yeah, it's a headache for everybody, not the least of which calling it a headache for any player who's racially abused is an injustice is an injustice to only refer to it as a headache and not racial abuse.
Yep.
It's an absolute pain in the ass for everyone to have to deal with. There might not be any justice if it happened, and it's going to be a long process, and there's a chance that a lot of us are going to be moved on to looking for different things in the U.S. soccer sphere by the time the answer comes out, and we'll have to go, oh damn, God, yeah, I remember that. Yeah. We'll have that kind of emotion to it, but yeah, it's exhausting. And I expected something like that from Taxi. It's so rare that you get someone throwing their hands up and saying, "Yep, I did that."
Yeah.
But I don't know what the timeline for all that's going to be. I just know it's going to be exhausting.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, I mean, and that's literally it. But the only advancement of the story that we had is Taxi Fontas's IG post yesterday. And this is one that Major League Soccer have to get their investigation right. And like I said, what I mean by that is they have to look at every possible angle from this, every possible perspective before they come out with an answer. This is not a drive-through judgment window here. And I know that, like I said, we want our judgments like we want our food, but it's not going to happen, nor should it. You want to get it right, and I think that being prudent here is the way to go. And as things continue to grow and advance in this, obviously we'll let you know when it comes to this particular investigation. But no, Jarrett, I think you're correct that it wouldn't surprise me if you ended up with something that was way down the road and it ended up, just being something as teams are chasing after playoff spots and things like that. It turns as a part of that discussion. So we'll see what happens when it comes to Taxi Funtas as we go forward. And speaking of going forward, we got to go backward first and look at what happened last weekend in Major League Soccer. And I will double check to see if Dylan Butler has decided to go on vacation, as a lot of folks do during this international window. We'll have Jessica Charman with us next week. She is taking family time, as she should. And she's taking family time, so we'll catch up with Jess next week. We are efforting guests for either Wednesday or Friday for later in the week. Bart Keeler is going to be with us Thursday morning at 9:30 to discuss the men's national team, because that match will be, I think the match will be going on as we have our Friday show. So, or at least part of it will. So to get the preview correct, we'll have Bart on the show on Thursday as opposed to having Bart on the show on Friday and having him yelling and screaming while the match is going on. But let's go back into Major League Soccer over the weekend and run through the results and get into the playoff picture. And it started off with, and basically, Jarrett, we can play cliffhanger like I do with Nico Moreno. If there's a match that you want to talk about, just yell stop and start talking about it. Before Atlanta and Philly, it was Hudson River, and NYC won that one by the score of 2-0 at a plus 138. Orlando City put 4 on Toronto FC, and I think that you got to see really how much of an impact a guy like Insigne makes for Toronto. But yeah, Orlando City just absolutely outgunned Toronto from the absolute beginning. Toronto looked like they were chasing shadows, and as a result of all of that, by the end of the day, Toronto is not making the postseason, and it will be an interesting off season in Toronto because they did not make the playoffs with this investment, and you wonder what the next level of investment is going to be with them at 34 points through 32 games.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do over there in Toronto, because we talked about it, like, you don't have a defense, you're still going to ship goals at a pretty crippling rate in the second half of the season. Sure, you're going to score goals, but you didn't really fix the defense. And look, part of the I want to win games 5-3 mentality comes with the fact that sometimes the other team is going to misfire and you're going to win those games 5-0. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you're going to misfire and you're going to lose those games 5-0. Are you able to deal with those ups and downs?
Yes. And with that one, Toronto is done. There are only a handful of teams that are out right now, and it's 3 in each conference as we speak. It is DC, Toronto, and Chicago. We'll get to Chicago in just a little bit. DC, Toronto, Chicago, all done after 32 matches. Chicago can't get any higher than 41 points, which means they can't get in. In the West, it's Kansas City. It is Houston. It is San Jose. Kansas City has found offense. They have chosen offense after the summer window, and they got the guys in that Peter Vermes was looking to add to their offensive stacks, guys like Agata. And they have done tremendously well. They have rocketed up from the bottom of the bottom. I mean, at one point they were at 20 points. They're now at 37, but they have been eliminated from playoff contention. San Jose, Houston, and Kansas City out in the West. So it's 3 in the East, 3 in the West as we continue to go forward. But Montreal beats the Revs 1-0 on an 80th minute goal. And the Revs really, they look, about as shaky as you can get right now, because they're at 38 points through 32. And I don't see it. I look at a team like New England. I think that Atlanta can go up to Foxborough and they can get the 3 points there and, see if there's any kind of mathematical chance on decision day. But New England, ever since they lost Turner and Buxa, they have not been the same team.
Yeah, and that's the thing is they've, they lost guys. Tajon Buchanan as well has got to be in that conversation of guys they lost. Yep. They just didn't replace him. And that's not anything groundbreaking. You go read, pretty much any article that is shoveling dirt on them, and it'll say the same thing. They lost 3 key guys from that team from last year, and they didn't replace them well.
Nope.
Adam Buksa went into 2021, and we were talking about like, hey man, is Adam Buksa gonna be that guy? And he was, and it played himself into a move to Europe. Tajon Buchanan continued to grow. Matt Turner, we know the story on Matt Turner, but they didn't replace them, and even Bruce, kind of, in his usual Brucey way, is kind of like, look, I mean, they kind of played over their heads last year, and they didn't respond well this year when they weren't playing over their heads. And here you are. Now you're in this situation. Yeah, I mean, they played over their heads. They stopped playing over their heads.
Yes,
they didn't replace key guys who were key to them playing over their heads. Last year was great. It was magical for them. Didn't pay off to a trophy outside of the Supporters Shield, but yeah, it's I'm interested what their offseason looks like.
Yes, I mean you came up with a keeper in Petrovic who has done well at times, come up with some big save games, and has been there. Yeah, I want to see how Petrovic works over the span of a season, and see how that continues to run there. Charlotte, in basically, I guess you could call this a mutual elimination game. Charlotte and Chicago. Charlotte came from behind to beat Chicago Fire at Soldier Field 3-2. Charlotte was a plus 282 on the road. So Charlotte stays mathematically engaged with that win. And what I probably should do for tomorrow's show is pull the highlights of the comeback from Jess and Willie P and run that, because I want to know if Willie P has any voice left from the octaves that he hit during the comeback. Charlotte has a match in hand. They've played 31, and they're at 38 points as well. So their max is 47, but their run-in is it's a pretty tough run-in for Charlotte. But Charlotte pretty much knocked Chicago out with that win. And once again, they when we kick dirt on teams and all of a sudden they come back like the Undertaker, Charlotte at least has delayed the 3 count for another week.
Yeah, they have. They're still alive mathematically. They're behind Atlanta. Charlotte's got a pretty tough road ahead of them to do this, but you respect the hell out of the fight that Charlotte has shown, because they refused to roll over and die, which is not something you can say about every team. So, yeah, full marks to Charlotte for a tumultuous year, but one that has some promise and some pieces that you can really build off for next year. Yep. And having your first season get a little sideways on you, you're not the first to go through that. It's okay. Just build on it for next year.
Yep. Sporting, we mentioned them, but what they did this past weekend was a 4-1 win over Minnesota United. And I know that every time we heap praise on Minnesota United, it seems like they just kind of sit there, look at us and go, nah, you didn't need to do that. And then you end up with a clunker like they had this past weekend. And right now, Minnesota, they're only 2 points out of not making it. And there's that group of folks from 4 to 8, let's say. Nashville's at 47, Portland's at 46, Minnesota's at 45. They've all played 32 matches. LAG's at 31. They've got 43 points. And they also have one more win than Real Salt Lake. Real Salt Lake did no one in the East any favors after letting Cincinnati come back in MLS After Dark. So a lot of folks below Cincinnati in the standings would like to take their thumb, place it on their nose, and wiggle their fingers at everybody in Salt Lake for not helping out when it comes to the playoff picture. So thank you, Pablo Mastroeni, for nothing, says a lot of fans in the Eastern Conference. So, but right now, you got 4 points separating 4 through 8. Minnesota's right there in that mix. Yeah, they've won the most, but the way that they play, they might be in the most peril.
Yeah, Minnesota, man, again, if you want a good race, go watch which one of the Western Conference teams chokes the hardest.
Yeah, there you go.
Man, that feels like something could happen.
That is true. You've got that one that happened, and if you're looking at Minnesota, you just really are. Austin and Nashville SC was a great 1-1 draw at Q2 with 2 teams in the top 4. We mentioned FC Cincinnati's comeback over RSL at 2-1 at a plus 231. Vancouver, and I'll talk to Nico Moreno about this also in depth on Thursday when he visits on Thursday afternoon. Vancouver wins at home against Seattle 2-1 as a plus 183. And we mentioned where things stand. Seattle, with a match in hand, they've played 31. They are 4 points out of the playoff discussion, 3-11-2 on the road this year, 9-5-1 at home. They need to win to get close to that bar to try to help them out. It's, the Colorado at 39, Seattle at 39. Colorado is the one that's on life support because they only have 2 matches to go. But that match in hand for Seattle could come up big if they're going to try to leapfrog some folks.
Man, at some point, and I would love Nico's take on this. Like, at what point do you just give up? Do you just pull the plug on Seattle and be like, okay, Zombie Sounders have been double and triple tapped at this point. They're technically still alive, but come on.
Yes, correct. And so that's where we are involving that one. Then San Jose and FC Dallas, a 1-1 draw. Galaxy put 4 on Colorado in a game that they really needed to do that at home at a minus 175. A lot of folks in the Eastern Conference became Portland Timbers fans with what happened with Portland with their last second goal on the board to escape Columbus with a 1-1 draw at a plus 298. That brought Columbus back to the pack. And had Columbus won that one, that would have really sent a lot of folks home, because then Columbus would have been at 44. Then you would have had 6, 4, 2 points trying to get into the playoff discussion, where right now Miami and Columbus are at 42, and there's still some hope for folks that are below them, but obviously they need to run the table and get some help. We've discussed what happened with DC and Inter Miami, and then LAFC gets a 3-1 win against Houston. That one took a while, but Houston stayed competitive. It was 1-1 at one point. Then LAFC ends up with the 3-1 win at a minus 417. So those that are in the East, Philadelphia has clinched. They're at 64 points, 2 matches to go. 5 points clear of Montreal and 9 points clear of Red Bull. So Montreal is going to be the 2 matches to go. They could get some help, win, have Philadelphia lose out, take your math. But Montreal looks like they're going to be a solid 2 in the East. Red Bulls at 3 at 50. They have clinched postseason berths. NYC's at 49. Orlando and Cincy at 45. Miami's at 42. Columbus is at 42, and they've all played 31 matches. And so Orlando, Cincy, Miami, Columbus all have matches in hand above Atlanta. Atlanta's at 40 points. Atlanta has to win their last 2 and get some help, and we talked about all of those numbers yesterday. LAFC has clinched first place in the West. So it is now a race with LA and Philly to figure out who gets to lift the buffet plate. Austin's at 55, Dallas is at 15, Nashville is at 47, Portland's at 46, and then we talked about Minnesota, LAG, and everybody in close proximity with KC, Houston, and San Jose out the door. So that is where things stand in Major League Soccer right now when it comes to the standings. And now that we're probably going to end up doing this for another 2 weeks. But when you look at the action on the whole and where things stand, Jarrett, in the East and the West, what else comes to your mind here?
Who can get the job done? I mean, we talk about, how Atlanta needs Columbus to finish this off with 3 points or less, right?
Yep.
Well, from Columbus's perspective, this is about finishing the drill.
Mm-hmm.
And can they go out there and get a win? Because Atlanta was in this position last year. Remember, Atlanta goes up to Red Bull Arena and gets the ugliest draw you've ever seen, but they needed that point to basically just kind of get into the playoffs and go from there.
Yep.
Can Columbus go get a goal somewhere, go get a win somewhere, and make their own lives insanely easy? Mm-hmm. We know what Atlanta has to do. But some of that falls on teams like a Columbus to go out and do the job. And then falls on like the teams out west. Like, can Minnesota not trip over their own shoelaces constantly? Can the LA Galaxy get in there? If the Galaxy don't get in, is Greg Vanney gone?
Yeah.
What do you do?
Mm-hmm. That's another big question. With all of this money that has been invested, and especially in a place like LAG, you bring in Ricky Puig, And I imagine they're trying to find a way to jettison Douglas Costa and possibly Cabral and try to find, folks that will take those salaries off their hands. And we've seen what Ricky Puig can be in a very short period of time. Does Greg Vanney get another transfer window to try to jettison some of that dead weight and bring in other talented players to help out with the offense that we've seen over the last handful of matches? Or is there zero patience when it comes to LAG if they don't make the playoffs? I think that's another big question when it comes to the Galaxy here in the stretch run and possibly the postseason, whether they make it or not. We were talking about Toronto. Emilio came in on the Twitch pitch, and he doesn't want Atlanta United to become Toronto. He wants Pineda to acknowledge defense, and he doesn't want to play like TFC. I don't think Atlanta plays like TFC. When you look at
but to his point, like that's been something people have yelled about in the past about, like, they'd rather be games 4-3 than 1-0. So I mean, it's been a discussion point in this fan base before. It's not out of nowhere. Like, people have talked about wanting that before. So I can see where he's coming from with, like, bringing up that point as a discussion. Because people have talked about, like, they'd rather have these high flying, high scoring games that really ain't good for your heart.
No.
Ain't good for your long-term development as a human being. Don't go full Mike Leach.
No.
So I mean, it's as people. I mean, you remember people were kind of cross when Frank de Boer was out there playing like 1-0 games, 2-0 games, 2-1 games. Even when there was a winning streak, people were just kind of like, it was. I guess I guess they missed, that 2017, and I'll forever argue you probably won't see another run like 2017, the end of 2017, like the second half of the season when you got in the bends, right? Because my God, they clicked and they had a slew of home games and they ran out of gas at the end of the year.
Yes.
You play like that, you play downhill that hard, that fast, that consistently, you are going to run out of gas. That's what happened to them. Yeah. We see it with Red Bulls every summer. Red Bulls goes through a spell where, they'll just look like death warmed over because that style, like, it's especially if you make like Red Bulls go play a swing where they got to play like Orlando or Miami and then in Atlanta or in Charlotte. And they'll have like 3 games where you're like, this isn't the team that's a playoff caliber team. What the hell am I watching?
Yeah.
It's
like the LAFC run where they get to have their own version of Copa Tejas, where they make all 3 road trips toward the tail end of the season into play the Texas teams.
Yeah, I mean, and to Michael's point, it's like 1-0 wins. Yeah, so will I.
Yes, exactly.
Look, that was we talked about that at the playoffs in 2018 and in 2019. Like, hey, if you want to win all these playoff games 1-0, cool. Because guess what? That's still a win. That's all I need. Mm-hmm. Most important number on the board in that playoff game is that big 0 you hang up next to somebody else's name.
Mm-hmm. And as long as it ain't yours, that means you got full points.
Yeah. I don't care how you get it across the line. Just get it across the line. Yeah. That thing the wheels can be falling off and can be actually on fire, and they can be standing at the finish line with the fire extinguishers and someone ready to take away your karting license. Yes. I don't care. Get it across the line.
And that's basically how it is. It's like, get it across the line, get in, and then do your damage all over again. I think that's what a lot of folks, I think, when they say that they miss the 4-3s and the 3-2s. I think at the end of the day, if you ask them maybe off camera, well, don't you want to get into the playoffs?
Those 4-3s are a serotonin boost from hell when you're on the winning edge of it, and it's like, like when Justin Meram's scoring game-winning goals at the last minute, or Pity Martinez or Marcelino Moreno was scoring like last-minute winners. It's a great serotonin boost. That you can ride off that high for a while, but man, it's a stressful way to make a living.
Yes, it is without a doubt a stressful way to make a living when it comes to all of that stuff. Jarrett, I'm going to go over the rest of the news of the day. We have a new coaching appointment in the Premier League. We got some transfer stuff. We got some stuff overseas to look at. And we're going to look at folks and tell them what's on TV. So you want to come back tomorrow and we'll do it all over again?
Sure, why not?
All right, so there's Jarrett, and so Jarrett's going to come back tomorrow and hang out. So since we are at that particular point where we're transitioning, it's time to read a promo, and I will try to get the music correct. So I've yet to figure, because every time you log into the computer and log into this particular program that we have, it sets everything back to where it was when you started. So for the remainder of the show, we'll take questions and comments and all that kind of stuff and go through all the news of the day and get you ready for this day. The Euros kick back in, one match on Wednesday and the others on Thursday. So we'll preview that stuff and we'll go through all the juice boxes and what it looks like as everybody runs forward. And so, like I said, these shows this week and next, probably more power hours than anything else, but that we are going to try to bring in guests and be guest driven as well to kind of discuss things. And once again, it's pretty much anything on the table that you guys want to talk about. Doesn't necessarily have to be Atlanta United. Could be Major League Soccer, could be the world, could be planetary soccer, could be college, whatever you guys want to talk about. That's what we're here for every single day at 9:05. And Friday, I think what we'll start at 9:05. I think we'll give our friends at Beyond Goals the week off since we're in international play. And we'll pick back up with them for the stretch run next Friday. I'll double check with Dylan Butler to make sure that he hasn't gone on vacation, and we'll get Dylan's thoughts as to what he thinks about what's been going on in Major League Soccer as well. So we'll go back at it, and he'll have Dylan on the show again tomorrow. But if I've adjusted the background music appropriately, there we go. Time for our promo for our friends at Eliminized Service. QR code over my left shoulder for those of you watching on Twitch. Rotor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's Eliminized Service. Deodorizing enclosed spaces like houses, apartments, and condos. They've created a customized solution that eliminizes all organic odors, including those like pet cigarettes and food. Realtors and property managers use the Eliminized Service to eliminate bad odors to help them sell or rent their homes that much faster. It's a turnkey process. It makes it easy to work with said realtors and property managers. Kind of the environment. We like that these days. Very green way of going about things. You get rid of odors without any kind of toxic residue whatsoever. Different than Febreze or our favorite masking agents that we have either under the sink or in the cupboard above us. Because when you reach under the sink or in the cupboard above us and you take out that masking agent, you spray it in the air, there's a reason they call it a masking agent, because that's all they're doing. They're masking the odor. They're not attacking the issue all the way down to the molecule, like our friends at Eliminized do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy, either by cubic feet or parts per million, to come up with a price that's affordable for you. Offering results in 24 hours or less. If you have any questions, frequently asked or otherwise, one place you need to go is the website. And if I can twist the sign a little bit, there we go. Eliminized.com. But after the .com, do us a favor here at SDH, go /Atlanta so they know what part of the world that you are reaching out to them from, so they can help you attack your issue. Your full homework assignment, ELIMINIZE.com, Eliminized.com /Atlanta, Eliminized.com /Atlanta for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Eliminized Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH. Slow fade down to 0, and we'll do it again tomorrow. So that is the beauty of background music, that sometimes it comes in too loud and I have to completely and totally adjust it. But once again, reminder, USL programming comes out later today. USL Championship and USL League One review previews. Prim and Proper comes out today. And we're going to catch up with Philip Goodrum, former Atlanta United 2 striker. And he's now second in the league in USL Championship. So we'll catch up with Philip Goodrum later today, and we'll post that one tomorrow on the network. So your news across the board. First and foremost, you look at soccer on TV, and it's pretty much all collegiate. Pac-12 network, late night, so you have college soccer after dark. You've got ACC Plus starting at 7 on the men's side. Action in USL Championship at 8:30, San Antonio FC in Colorado Springs. That's a big one in the Western Conference in the USL Championship. Men's soccer on ESPN Plus starting at 2 o'clock and working its way all the way through 8 o'clock. One game on the women's side. That's at 3. Paramount Plus has action in the Argentine Primera. At 5, it is Patronato and Rosario Central. And Argentinos Juniors, Atletico Tucumán, and Cordoba and Gimnasia La Plata. That's a doubleheader at 7:30 on Paramount Plus. On YouTube and DAZN, starting at noon, you have UEFA Women's Champions League qualifying. Kuga and Juve at noon. Real Sociedad, Bayern's at 1. Arsenal, Ajax, and Rangers and Benfica are at 2:30. So that is your list of soccer on TV. And so that's your viewing pleasures today as we get ready for European competition and all the friendlies that is going to be built up later on in the week. Open Cup qualifying happened yesterday. 4-time champ Philadelphia Ukrainian Nationals fell to Westchester United. So you got Vistula Garfield, oldest Polish club in the United States, losing to New York Pancyprian Freedoms. And so you've got 2 of the 3 former U.S. Open Cup champs losing in the first round of qualifying. The third needed an 11-10 shootout victory to advance. New York Greek American SC, another 4-time champ, beat Connecticut Newtown Pride in PKs after their match ended 3-3. And all 6 local qualifiers entered in the 2022 Open Cup matches this past weekend. Won Nova, Northern Virginia, that we see in USL League 2. Oyster Bay, City Soccer, Azteca Defeaters out of Texas and Escondido. Brockton FC and Orlando FC Wolves had buys into the second round. Total of 9 slots in the 2023 tournament proper available to local qualifiers. The 2023 tournament itself begins the week of March 20. So in the East, you had activity all over the place Saturday and Sunday with some buys. The second qualifying round is October 15-16. The third qualifying round is just before Thanksgiving, and the fourth qualifying round is just before Christmas. So a couple of highlights there from Open Cup to get you ready for the next round of the Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup Trophy, which just ended. So it's kind of cool that soccer season never quits. We like that stuff too. News out of England, looking at transfer news and notes, because obviously folks are always looking at that kind of stuff. Liverpool looking to make a further move for Real Madrid midfielder Federico Valverde. According to AS, the report suggests Liverpool had been willing to part with £85 million this summer to add the Uruguayan international to their ranks, but Real Madrid's sale of Casemiro to Manchester United took care of any potential of that deal. Liverpool ended up getting Arthur Melo from Juve on a short-term deal instead. Valverde has 3 goals in 6 La Liga appearances so far this season, provided the assist for Vinicius Jr. when Real beat Liverpool in the Champions League final back in May. Roberto De Zerbi. Let's get into this a little bit. And Roberto De Zerbi he was named the new manager at Brighton. And it's, and as I mentioned earlier in the show, a guy like De Zerbi, for me, is a fantastic human being. And I think that this is a good pickup for Brighton. And he is set to face the media today. Out of work since leaving Shakhtar in July, following obviously the war currently going on in Ukraine. Spent 3 years in charge of Sassuolo, and his dossier going back to 2013-14, amateur side in Italy, 14-16, Serie C with Foggia, won the Coppa Italia. Serie C, narrowly missed out on promotion. 2016 was at Palermo, sacked after a poor start after 2.5 months. 17 and 18 went to Benevento. Despite the team being relegated back to Serie B, got a lot of positive press. 18 to 21, he was in Sassuolo. 2 successive 8th place finishes, missed out on Europa Conference League to Roma on goal difference in 21. Then went to Shakhtar Donetsk, won the Ukrainian Super Cup in September, and then once again left the role because of the war currently going on in Ukraine. Now, background on De Zerbi. Fan of Pep and Marcelo Bielsa, and he is a guy that will just study the game all day long and twice on Tuesday. Now, remember, with Sassuolo, they didn't have the resources that pretty much everybody above them had, and he was still able to do what he was able to do, selling star players and still being able to pull off what he did there. And remind you of something? Remind you probably of what Graham Potter did at Brighton. And, you have innovative coach, and that was the first guy that was on the board. And so Brighton saw Graham Potter, plucked him from Swansea, had the way to build the franchise there, and that was the way to do it. And they're going to be doing it again with De Zerbi. His first 6 matches, pretty tough. At Liverpool, at the Amex, you've got Tottenham next the following week. Then you're at Brentford at the G-Tech. Then you've got Nottingham Forest, Man City. You're at the Etihad, and then you're home to Chelsea. So the first 6 for De Zerbi at Brighton, pretty tough. There are comparisons to Sassuolo and to Brighton. Tactically, they pretty much match up all the same, exception where De Zerbi is encouraging far more running with the ball, deploying fewer fast breaks. And so basically you're looking at someone who is taking what we've seen from Brighton and just kind of twisting it a little bit, which is what you're looking for. When you're looking at possession style, there are more forward passes and passes completed as a part of his dossier. And when he was at Sassuolo, once again, take the Sassuolo information and apply it forward to Brighton. It may not necessarily look the same, but this is what he did, just to give you a base of what he was up to. Used a 4-2-3-1 in 32 of the 38 matches in his final season. Used it as his preferred system at Shakhtar. Graham Potter started with 3 central defenders in almost half of his Premier League matches last year, and all but one this year. And once again, we look at formations, at least here. Don't get locked into formations if you're a fan of Brighton and De Zerbi. De Zerbi likes fluidity. He likes the idea of, just because somebody lines up a certain way doesn't mean they're going to play a certain way. So keep an eye on that as well. Unlikely to encourage a lot of crosses or aerial play. Stats below had him at Sassuolo second to last in crosses, last in aerial duels won, last in long passes, third to last in duels won, and last in headed goals. And so you've got a bunch of algorithms that you can attach to it as well. But when it comes to the defining style for a guy like De Zerbi, it's possession-based passing. And you have passes completed, top of the league in Serie A in 2021. Touches, once again, top of the league in Serie A. Possession numbers, 61%. He was the only club in Serie A at the time that had over 60% possession. Passing accuracy, second at just under 88%. And passes, ending was once again second in the league, second to Atalanta. So passes by zone, most of them in the middle third. You look at a bunch of other things, and Sky does a really great dive into all of those tactical metrics and graphs and things like that, if that's a way that you're looking to see what it looks like. Yeah, it's interesting that Chelsea and Brighton played a closed-door friendly. So, I mean, hey, when you know folks, you know folks. Don't know if De Zerbi was keeping an eye on it or anything, but no, definitely it's interesting. When you know folks, it's just easy to pick up the phone. You can sit there and go, okay, hey, you know what? Hey, you want to come over for a friendly? Yeah, I'm right there with you. But yeah, Andy Naylor and James Horncastle, for those of you that have The Athletic, they went into a deep dive as well. And and here's the second paragraph of the Naylor Horncastle article. It made sense to the hierarchy that if you had a successful appointment in Potter, who bases his playing style on controlling possession with an ability to improve players and teams, why not choose somebody like De Zerbi with a similar track record and principles to maintain your club's upward trajectory? So Tony Bloom did a data-driven and proactive recruitment policy, and then identified De Zerbi as a candidate as successors for the day Potter left. Once again, it was with his work at Sassuolo and Shakhtar. Character references: September 8th, when Potter left, Bloom and the executive team made their move. The first meeting with De Zerbi, Bloom, chief exec Paul Barber, technical director David Weir, they apparently, according to Naylor and Hardcastle, blown away by how much he knew about the evolution and playing style at Brighton under Potter, as well as the players he would have at his disposal. From that moment, they locked into De Zerbi, free agent on the market. No other cause to look at other coaches. So De Zerbi has been the guy ever since he walked into that first meeting. Watched Brighton lose to Chelsea. Oh, actually, there you go. Thank you, Michael. De Zerbi watched Brighton lose 2-1 to Potter's Chelsea in a behind-closed-door friendly at the Amex on Saturday. So there you go. That answers my question. Both clubs were without a fixture owing to Premier League postponements, flew back to Italy before the confirmation Sunday evening of the appointment on a 4-year contract subject to work permit formalities. So, yeah, you end up with that. So it is now being referred to as Dizerbismo, what you're going to be seeing at what you're going to be seeing with Brighton. It's taking what was there and just making the next logical shift in approach. And so you weren't completely and totally upsetting your proverbial apple cart in all of this. You had an approach, you had a style with what Graham Potter put there. And when you bring in a guy like De Zerbi, who is the next logical progression in that, and you were happy with him and you loved that first meeting, it made a lot of sense that you brought in De Zerbi. So, but no, it's very interesting read. So I'm not going to read the whole thing to you because that would probably take us to about 12:30. But if you have a subscription to The Athletic, influenced by Pep Guardiola, and it's an evolution from what Graham Potter was there. So it makes a lot of sense for the hire for Brighton. So Andy Naylor, James Horncastle, with their article at The Athletic about De Zerbi and the hiring and what he believes and what he likes to do. So it'll be interesting to see with those first 6 matches what you see out of De Zerbi and of Brighton as their evolution continues. Also on the board with news overseas and transfers and all these kinds of things, Yuri Tielemans admits it's tough at Leicester, but he doesn't regret staying. He might be in the minority. We'll keep an eye on that one. Villarreal, Valencia, and Celta de Vigo are reportedly among several Spanish clubs who will scout Ben Brereton Diaz when he plays for Chile against Morocco in Barcelona next Friday. Brereton Diaz free to sign a pre-contract agreement with any team in Europe in January. La Liga clubs have apparently observed his adaptation of the international game from a second-tier football perspective in England. Fulham and Everton had bids turned down for Brereton Diaz on transfer deadline day. Rovers have not yet offered the striker a new deal as he enters the final 12 months of his contract. We'll keep an eye on that one. Manchester United's Bruno Fernandes says the arrival of Cristiano Ronaldo last summer had nothing to do with his decreased goal output. Spoke to The Athletic, and he said that most of my assists last season were for him, so I don't think it is fair to have that kind of assessment. I just had a poor season in terms of my own numbers. I don't think it's about Cristiano or myself. Before he came, I was also taking the penalties, but I had 2 chances to take penalties last season and missed both. So I cannot blame Cristiano for taking penalties, especially when he scores them. And so I don't think it is because of Cristiano. It's because I didn't do the best in myself in some moments to get goals or assists. Bart is posting in the Twitch bits, USMNT is wearing new training gear and it looks like a superhero suit. Okay. Let me see. Bart, is it posted anywhere as I'm having conversations with all of you here live and in color? Let's see. USMNT. USMNT. All right. So personally, now, and Bart, I'm going to go back to the Chris Bunn mock-ups. I thought that the Declaration of Independence kit for the World Cup final, if that ever happened, I would buy like 95 of those. I thought that was really cool. Okay, so there's a picture of Christian Pulisic from 30 minutes ago. Yeah, I mean, it kind of does on the arms and everything. It does look like, although, for it to be a full superhero suit, I think it would probably have to be full length and you're wearing like a full body suit and not just shorts from the waist down. So understand the notion of it being a superhero suit. Yeah, I could see that. But yeah, I'm not necessarily a fan, but I understand the idea of trying to keep warm. And so you're keeping warm from the waist up, and that traditionally will work. But I see it's almost like a scuba diving outfit more for me. So all right. So if Bart has given me that link, I will click on that link and see if it's different from the one that I have. So opening it up in a new tab. I know that makes fantastic for TV and radio here, but yeah, that's a scuba outfit. That's a body glove. That's a body glove. Yeah, that's nice, and it's got the VW imprint. Yeah, that's a body glove. They're ready to go surfing instead of superheroing for me. But yeah, I get it. but it really doesn't set the world on fire. But yeah, for me, looking at those mock-up kits leading into things, if Chris Bunn's Declaration of Independence kit, the gold and black, was really right there, I'd buy like 35,000 of those because that was an amazing thing. Also in Europe, as we go, Rafa Benitez had an interview with Sky. He says it was difficult to manage Everton the way he wanted to due to his ties with rivals Liverpool. Not necessarily a surprise. It's impossible. He says it was impossible to manage Everton the way he wanted. Does not regret taking over at Goodison Park. Admits he struggled to make certain decisions because of his ties to Merseyside rivals. Benitez also discusses Anthony Gordon, who he believes is now starting to fulfill his full potential and initially doubting the 21-year-old. So we'll keep an eye on that. All right. So this came across also, I guess, with David Moyes in his weekly press conference. A reporter referred to David Moyes as Moisey. Unless, and I wouldn't even do it in a personal situation. If you were a reporter and you had a relationship with your interviewee, would you publicly refer to them as a nickname before you ask the question? For me, the answer is no. I don't know what the relationship was. Apparently, David Moyes was surprised, so I don't know if the relationship exists in a friendly manner at all. But apparently, a reporter asking David Moyes about West Ham's loss to Everton decided to go, "Hey, Moisey," as a part of the greeting. That to me is, yeah, I'd be just as surprised. I don't think that's all that professional. When, just to pull back the curtain, when I'm doing interviews, it's coach or even if I know the coach or if I know the individual, there's still that bit of formality that's there that's attached to it. So I'm not going to sit there and go, "Hey, first name," especially if it's on camera or live. If it's off camera, I may talk to that individual by their first name or a nickname or something over time because of the cash that we have developed over time when it comes to a particular relationship. But I'm not going to sit there and address someone on camera by a nickname, especially if I'm not tight with that person. So I don't know if that's a generational thing when it comes to reporters these days, but under no circumstance am I going to sit there and I may go skip for skipper like I do with Michael Parkhurst because he is a former captain. That kind of a thing. I may go coach. I'm not going to necessarily go and offer a first name basis. Yeah, exactly, Bart. Keep the professional boundaries and professional settings. And like I said, I know I'm missing the context of who this individual is in the West Ham room asking David Moyes a question. But under no circumstance am I going to sit there and go nickname, "Hey, nickname, comma," and then ask the question. That's just, like I said, I don't know if that's a generational thing because of the nature of reporting these days, kind of like when the one reporter that was late to the LSU press conference recently with Brian Kelly, and they were late, and the reporter, and I'm paraphrasing, said, "Well, I'll be on time when you start winning games." First off, I find that completely and totally unprofessional. And I know that you're supposed to be like, "Gotcha," and all these kinds of things these days, but that's just not how I'm wired. I'm not wired in that way like it was at LSU because I think that that's disrespectful. And I don't think that that's really a true voice of the media. You're not really a true journalist trying to do something like that. And you're just looking for clicks and hits and things like that. But I understand that that's part of the dynamic today. But at the same time, going nickname to a coach that you may not have a relationship with, it's just, I looked at that and I was like, seriously? So yeah, and that's just like I said, that's me pulling back the curtain a little bit on who I am as a journalist. I would never go, "Hey, nickname," even if I'm close to that individual. So, I know that in hockey you have nicknames and you identify players with nicknames when you're doing those kinds of things. But in a position of authority, and you go, "Hey, nickname," that to me is just that's outside the box, and that's out of bounds for me. So saw that this morning, and I was like, no, that's kind of just wanted to pull the whole thing. Forward. Emilio agreed. Moreover, surprised when players call coach by first name or nickname, for example, Gonzo. Yeah, Jason and I actually had this conversation, and we had it at one of our live events once. And apparently, in the sport of soccer, it's okay for players to have that kind of collegial environment with a coach. They think that that's okay. And that's just part of their thing. And Jason has always been one that sits there and will talk to a coach by first name, Gonzalo, Gonzo, Frank, what have you. For me, it's always been coach, regardless of the sport. But apparently, and this is a soccer thing, that it's perfectly acceptable for players to address their coach or refer to their coach by first name or nickname. It's just something that I didn't know until I started covering the sport full time. But it's completely different from the other sports that I've covered. So that is something that is specific to soccer. Rich Ransom, I don't know, coach player is such a personal relationship, right? And I think that's. And by the way, Rich, the boss is still mad from what happened this past weekend. It's just something that I think that's part of this particular sport, just not others. And so, admittedly, for me, in trying to go back and forth about it, it's just one of the tenets that I've always had. It's just okay, coach, maybe a first name if you're trying to dive deeper or something like that in a follow-up. But for me, it's always been coach, manager, skip, what have you, that show of title and position, where apparently in soccer, because Rich, as you say, it's a personal relationship, that's why you're getting those first name, nickname kind of addresses. So yeah, I thought that it's been interesting for me to be educated on that when it comes to the sport of soccer when we're covering things journalistically. But going, hey, nickname to a coach, and you may not have a relationship with said coach, I thought that was out of bounds. So, but like I said, that's just me when I was looking at that situation, and you're like, yeah, okay, I get it. Let's see what else is going on the. Let's go with the papers, and let's see what's going on. Once again, when we discuss papers, it is outside the 3 and the 4-letter paper. And we go and skip the 3-letter Daily Telegraph. Leicester City's board, and Nick's may want to cover his ears on this and go earmuffs for this particular story. Leicester City's board are considering Brendan Rodgers' future at the club, but compensation for him and a potential replacement could be an issue, as they're also under pressure to reduce their cost base due to FFP. That's something that you got to keep an eye on. So does that mean that Brendan Rodgers stays in an untenable situation because they can't afford to fire him and bring in somebody else? Keep an eye on that. That might be something that we have to keep an eye on. The CIES Football Observatory claims Manchester United have overspent by £209 million on players since July 2012, ranking ahead of Juve and PSG as the worst culprits in the transfer market. Times Premier League clubs will insist on FA Cup third and fourth round replays being scrapped as a part of plans to increase financial support flowing down to the lower levels of English football. Daily Star, Paul Pogba revealed he was held at gunpoint by 2 men who demanded the £11 million from him in a July incident, which has now seen 5 suspects detained, including his brother Matthias, and we talked about that on Monday. Guardian, Russia has urged UEFA to ban the manager of Ukraine, Oleksandr Petrakov, for not remaining politically impartial after he said he would like to fight Vladimir Putin's invading forces. Good luck on that. Daily Express, Kylian Mbappe has forced the French Football Federation into this is the words from Sky, an embarrassing climb down in their dispute over image rights, with his failure to appear to photo shoot followed hours later by the Triple F saying work was ongoing over a new agreement. Daily Record, Maccabi Tel Aviv owner Mitchell Goldhar has confessed young star Oscar Gluck, a reported Celtic target, could be on his way out of the club in January after talks with the players' camp. And Celtic loanee Vasilis Barkas has revealed he's loving life at FC Utrecht after getting a chance to reignite his international career with a call to the Greek squad. So that is your look at the papers this morning. So let's get into viewing habits and what else can be seen today, and get into juice boxes before we go. And once again, thanks to everybody who's been hanging out with us, especially in an international window. And like I said, tomorrow we'll see if Dylan can hang out with us, and we'll talk about other stuff going on with Dylan in Major League Soccer. Thursday, 9:30, Bart Keeler will break everything down, including Superman outfits and body gloves, getting ready for the action on Friday, which we will all be watching. And Nico Moreno, Thursday afternoon. That'll be live on the network, probably about 5 o'clock Eastern time. We'll get into that. Chasing after another guest for Thursday's Power Hour as well, so we'll keep an eye on that. Possibly Wednesday or Friday for the guest that we are chasing. I don't want to jinx anything. And so once again, Power Hour is pretty much this week and next as we get you ready for everything going on the flip side for U.S. soccer. And so let's see. Right now going on, we have stuff in the Middle East. We've got stuff in Eastern Europe. That will continue all the way through. CAF Confederations Cup kicks off at noon. Champions League for women. Juice boxes. Juve's a big favorite going up against Køge out of Denmark at a minus 435. Champions League for women. Bayern Munich a big favorite at a minus 417 against Real Sociedad at 1 o'clock. Lower divisions in the EFL Trophy are going on. Those actions start at 2 o'clock. They also have more at 2:30 involving folks in League Two and lower divisions as well. Now that the odds have changed as we get to 2:30. Rangers and Benfica. Benfica's a minus 110 in the Women's Champions League. Arsenal a huge favorite against Ajax at a minus 2,500. Lower division EFL Trophy and FA Cup at 2:30 and 2:45. Carries you through to action starting in South America at 4 o'clock. Patronato Rosario Central, since we talked about that one as part of your viewing on Paramount Plus. Patronato's a plus 135. Draws a plus 214. Rosario Central's at a plus 220. Liga de Expansiones at 6:05. Tapatio Correcaminos. Central Cordoba back to Argentina at 7:30 is a plus 160, hosting Gimnasia, who's a plus 177. Liga de Expansión again at 8:05. San Antonio, Colorado Springs. San Antonio is a big favorite at home at Toyota Stadium tonight at 8:30 on ESPN+. San Antonio is a minus 208. Your draws just north of plus 300. Colorado Springs is a plus 491. Primera in Costa Rica, our friends at Herediano are a minus 139 at home. Sporting San Jose and Cartagenes. Sporting San Jose is a plus 127. That one's at 10 o'clock. USL League One, Tucson's minus 105 is North Carolina FC. Visit Town, your draw, and North Carolina FC are both in the neighborhood of plus 246. One of the coolest names of a club anywhere finishes the night at 10:05 in Liga de Expansión. Raya 2, Raya 2, played Leones Negros and Raya 2 are a plus 137. So let's get into standings really quickly in USL Championship and in USL League One. USL League One, by the way, is one of the craziest races all season long that you will ever see. And it's just always been that way ever since the league came to the fore. So San Antonio, Colorado Springs tonight. Here's the deal in the West. San Antonio, 9 points clear with 5 matches to go. They're at 64 points. San Diego's at 55. They've lost 3 of 4. Colorado has lost 2 in a row. They're at 51 points. And they have 4 matches to go going into tonight. Sacramento's at 49 points. They've won 3 of 4 to combine with their U.S. Open Cupness. And then you get to El Paso, New Mexico. They're 5th and 6th in the West. And RGV, Oakland, and Monterey Bay, and Vegas, and Los Dos are all chasing after that last playoff spot. 3 points separating 5 teams from that last playoff spot in the Western Conference. So the Western Conference kind of reminds me of the Eastern Conference in Major League Soccer. In the East, speaking of which, it's 2 groups. We know the 7, and we know the grouping of 4 and 12 is 47, right? So we know the 7 in the East. Now it's just a matter of seeding. It is Lou City at 63. They're chasing San Antonio. They've played 1 more match for Supporter Shield. Memphis, 5 points back at 58. 29 matches played. Tampa's at 54. They've lost 2 in a row. Birmingham's at 54. They played 1 more match than Tampa Bay has. Pittsburgh's at 52. Detroit City's at 49, having won 3 of 4, unbeaten in 4. And the Miami FC after the 2-2 draw with Atlanta United 2, they're at 48 points. So there's some groups there, and there's chasing after playoff spots as we go. The ones below the playoff bar in the East, FC Tulsa's at 35. Hartford Athletic, with the announcement of Tab Ramos, they have rocketed up the table. They've won 4 of 5, unbeaten in 5. They're at 33 points. Great way to finish the season in Hartford. Indy 11's at 32. Loudoun United's at 24. They've lost 4 of 5. Charleston's at 24 points. Atlanta United 2's at 20. And Red Bulls 2 have only won 3 of 30, and they are at 14 points. Now, USL League One, the action there, one today, one tomorrow. We'll get into juice boxes on that one tomorrow. Tonight, we talked about Tucson and North Carolina SC. Once again, 10 o'clock kickoff, about 10:06 on ESPN Plus. All the games in the USL Championship and League One are available there. Richmond's at 45 points, 4 points clear of Union Omaha. Then 3, 4, 5, and 6. Greenville's at 40 points. Chattanooga's at 37. Same record as Tormenta, same number of matches played. Goal difference is plus 13 to -1. That's why Tormenta's in 5th. But Charlotte Independence are in 6th at 36 points. That's your playoff bar. Northern Colorado, 32 points. One more win than Forward Madison. They've lost 3 of 4. They're in 8th. Central Valley is at 30 points. North Carolina FC is at 26, and FC Tucson is at 24. So you've got various stages of chasing going on right now with handful of matches to go in USL League One. So once again, you'll get previews and reviews with USL Championship and USL League One shows coming up later today. Prem and Proper coming up later today as well. Philip Goodrum's interview will be posted tomorrow. We catch up with him later in the afternoon. And I think that is going to do it. So once again, everybody, thanks for hanging out here. We'll do it again tomorrow, probably another power hour, unless Dylan Butler is not on vacation. We'll talk about stuff going on with him in Major League Soccer. And then we will do it again on Thursday for a power hour. Bart will join us at 9:30. And then Friday we'll have probably another power hour as well to kind of break things down as we head into the weekend, looking at juice boxes and the U.S. First match on the board. So we will go from there. So once again, thanks everybody for hanging out with me and hanging out with Jarrett as we continue to roll through everything here during an international window. If there's any other topics, trust me, these days, these shows are going to be a little more wide open. So if there's anything, especially on a Wall Pass Wednesday, that comes to your mind, we'll talk about it because that's what we're here for. So once again, thanks for hanging out with all of us, and it's great to hang out with all of you. So since it is the end of the show, enjoy the rest of your day. Mucha platial, and since it is the end of the show, that means I get to do this.